Have you ever wondered why priests wear those white robes, or what they're called? Well, in this episode of Catechism for Kids, we explain what the white robe that priests and altar servers wear at Mass is called. We also explain what it symbolizes, and who can wear it during the liturgy. So let's get started. The ancient garment was not only worn by priests, but also by the newly baptized. The English word alb, referring to a vestment worn underneath the priest's chasuble, comes from the Latin alba, meaning white. The alb traditionally is a white linen garment and dates to the very beginnings of Christianity in the Roman Empire. At first it was similar to the ordinary white tunic worn by the Romans and Greeks, but quickly became associated with the rite of baptism. In the early centuries of the Church, men and women, separated by gender, were baptized completely naked, symbolically setting aside their former way of life before entering the baptismal font. Then, after rising from the font, the newly baptized were given a white garment, symbolizing their new birth in Christ. This clothing ceremony is still preserved in the modern baptismal rite, where the priest recites a prayer while placing either a white garment or a white stole on the child. You have become a new creation and have clothed yourself in Christ. See in this white garment the outward sign of your Christian dignity. With your family and friends, to help you by word and example, bring that dignity unstained into the everlasting life of heaven. It is taught that all the baptized are robed in a spiritual wedding garment, and when we die, we will, by God's grace, present it unstained to God. This white garment symbolizes our readiness for the wedding feast of the Lamb, aka heaven. The newly baptized would wear the alb during the first week after Easter, offering a public witness to their newfound faith in Christ. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, the second Sunday of Easter was consequently known as Dominica, in albus or deponendis, the Sunday of the laying aside of the white garments. It was on this day that the white garment was put aside and regular clothing could be worn. In medieval England, the newly baptized wore their white robes throughout the Easter season, laying them aside on Pentecost, which is still known as Whit Sunday or White Sunday in English custom. Over the next few centuries in the Church, the alb became more and more associated with priestly vestments. The symbolism is retained, reminding the priest of his baptism, but also with an added dimension. According to the Office for Liturgical Celebrations, the alb recalls the new and immaculate clothing that every Christian has received through baptism. The alb is therefore a symbol of the sanctifying grace received in the first sacrament, and is also considered to be a symbol of the purity of heart that is necessary to enter into the joy of the eternal vision of God in heaven. Before putting on the alb, the priest says a prayer that recalls this symbolism and contains a reference to Revelation 7:14. "Make me white, O Lord, and cleanse my heart, that being made white in the blood of the Lamb, I may deserve an eternal reward." Under current legislation, the alb has been returned to more common usage in the Church, and is an optional vestment for lay ministers who have a role in the Mass, such as lector or server. This recent development has tried to reconnect the alb to its original use as a vestment of the baptized. Then, what about cassock? What is the difference between cassock and alb? On the contrary, the cassock is more like a formal coat for the clergy. Its design takes inspiration from classic tunics in ancient Rome that came down to the knees gracefully. Modern versions of a cassock vary in their detailing. For instance, a double-breasted design is one of the Anglican kinds, while one with buttons down the center is the Roman cassock. The standard color of a daily wear cassock is black, which has been the norm since the start of time and continues even today. There are many classic interpretations of this vivid choice, each more significant than the last. A clergy or priest alb is almost always invariably white, and it applies to most forms of vestments. Given their esteemed position in clergy wear, it makes sense that they associate with the color of divinity. The color is a representation of purity. As the minister performs his services at the altar, the white color pays homage to God's divine love for the world. It gives out the message there'll always be victory after darkness and God's promise of salvation. It is a reminder of triumph, happiness, and innocence. The white color is also associated with several divine occasions, such as the birth and resurrection of Christ and All Saints' Day. These moments serve as reminders of the fight against darkness and the submission to the one true power. Black stands as the color of humility and formality. When a priest carries out day-to-day activities dressed up in a priest cassock, he stands as a reminder of the bigger promise. He proclaims his duty beyond self and to the one true God. It reminds us that the clergyman or woman is God's servant and must fulfill their sacred job. Wearing a black cassock can also be a representation of hope. It shows the promise of salvation, of how life follows death, and death follows resurrection to a better world. Thus, the promise of life and victory after darkness. So the next time you go to Mass, take a close look at the altar servers and priests and what they're wearing. You'll notice that they're all wearing an alb, the long white robe that reminds us of baptism, purity, and the light of Christ. The alb reminds us that everyone who serves at the altar is doing something holy and special. And it reminds us that we too are called to be pure and loving, just like Jesus. Thanks for watching this episode of Catechism for Kids. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with families who want to grow in faith together. You can also watch and listen to other episodes on our channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.